வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். குரு வாழ்க, குருவே துணை. I am overwhelmed to stand here before such eminent scientists from all over the world, and I'm sure you are also overwhelmed by the knowledge that has been pouring in from yesterday morning. This is my Guru, Swami Satyananda Paramahamsa, Director of Bihar School of Yoga. Salutations to my Guru. Salutations to the highest son of Tamil Nadu, the Aliyar Siddhar as we call it. Siddha is a sage who has realized. And Yogiraj Vedadri Maharishi, my salutations to him. And salutations to all the gurus, yogis and jnanis who strive tirelessly to give us this knowledge so that we can live healthy and happy. Now, what is Kaya Kalpa? I don't have to say that because you've been listening to it from every day. It's a divine gift from Vedadri Maharishi to us. Of course, Kaya means body, Kalpa means a very long time. Actually, it is 4,320 years. And it's an ancient secret practice which was not given to everybody. And sometimes they used herbs also and minerals as a Kaya Kalpa. But Maharishi, out of his graciousness, has simplified this process and made it accessible to everybody who wants to learn it. Now, because of this conference, what is science and what is spirituality? Both are the same. Both are seekers of truth. One is only an outward journey and one is an inward journey. And both have the welfare of mankind at heart. That is the most important thing. And science produces technology to improve the external life and comforts. Spirituality gives us the techniques to improve the inner life and its effects. So, yesterday Dr. Martin, I think he talked about genesis and genetics are not the same. So, genetics is genesis from the Eastern and the Western philosophy or the cultures is very different. According to the Eastern philosophy and about Maharishi's philosophy, you would have heard from yesterday that the primordial says the source of creation is consciousness for us. And then through different steps, then it becomes the consciousness which is static or the unmovable state. Makes when it starts vibrating and when it becomes dynamic, it becomes energy. And this energy is the source of everything in this world. Right from the subatomic particles, atoms, molecules, and Panchabhutas. Panchabhutas may be a new philosophy for the Westerner, but all of us know that because the combination of molecules produce everything that we see today, the air and then the fire, the water and then the earth. So this is what, and including this, there's a space which it comes from. So these we call the Panchabhutas. And we say that every physical matter that we see is a combination of this Panchabhutas in various proportions. And then this energy is the cause of life itself. And science and spirituality are traveling parallelly in the reverse journey from life back to the matter, Panchabhutas, atom, subatomic particle, and trying to go back to what is the original source. And the goal of yoga, never would the yogis of ancient time have dreamt that one day yoga will be used for therapy. Their goal was self-realization and God-realization. But the present goal of yoga is yoga therapy, that is the health management and stress management. And I'm sure the future goal of yoga may be genetic engineering and epigenetics. In this area, spirituality can help the scientists in achieving and understanding the human well-being in its fullest sense. Now, what do I mean by the word the fullest sense? We know about our body and our mind. All of us are familiar with that. But the yogis, according to the yogis, we are made up of 5 layers or 5 sheaths, they call it. Kosha means a sheath or a covering. And it's called Panchakoshas. Panch means 5. So these are the 5 ones. They're called the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So Annamaya Kosha is the physical body made up of food and strengthened by exercise and work. Pranamaya Kosha is the energy body made up of prana. When we say prana, it is the life force particles, as Vaidadri Maharishi has said. And this is strengthened by pranayama and kayakalpa practice, and also by fresh food and water. And even directly you can access prana from the cosmic energy that is available everywhere on the earth. And there are people who can do it directly. And Manomaya Kosha is made up of the body of mind, made up of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and our reactions. And Vijnanamaya Kosha is the layer of our intellect, the wisdom, discrimination, and also our pride and ego, our intuitions, and our psychic abilities. Anandamaya Kosha, which is the core of our being, is the body of bliss. That is most intimate contact with the universal consciousness. So it is the transcendental experience of peace, cosmic love, and ecstasy. That's what every day in meditation we are told to feel. Now all these layers are just expressions of one and the same energy with different densities and different wavelengths. And yogis have realized long back, thousands of years back, before Einstein or anybody, that matter and energy are interchangeable. Today, modern science is aware of the mind-body connection, I call it psychobiology, but still has not caught up with the energy body, what we call as the pranamaya kosha. So today they're talking about aura, and that is body is filled with the prana, that is what is called the aura, which is filling our body and also extends a little beyond our body. So these 5 layers can again be grouped into 3 bodies. We have seen about yesterday all the 3 bodies separately and extensively also. That's called the causal body, subtle body, and the physical body. The causal body is the Anandamaya Kosha, and the subtle body is what we cannot see with our eyes, but it is present. We know that we have energy, we know we have a mind, we know we have wisdom. So, but we cannot prove it to anybody. So that is the subtle body. So these 3. And the physical body, of course, is the one made up of food that everybody can see and then prove it. That is the Annamaya Kosha. And what we miss is that each of these bodies have separate energies also. Though energy is the same, because electricity is the same, but then for different instruments you have different tensions and gradations or voltages of electricity we use. Like that, we have 3 energies. So for causal body, the energy is the ethereal or the spiritual energy, or you can call it the atomic energy. For the subtle body, we have the sound waves, radio waves, light waves, electromagnetism. All those belong to the subtle body. It fills the universe and it fills our body also. And in the physical body, as Dr. Jayaprakash has been saying, we have the chemical energy and the electrical energy. And of course, the root cause is the prana only. So the energy is the basis of all the 5 layers, or the Panchabhutas, as we call it, space, air, fire, water, and earth. And all the physical matter, including the chemicals, minerals, metals, and life itself. And what is life and death? Both are processes. Life is an organization of energy into form, and death is a liberation of energy from form and its reduction back to its components. And in Indian philosophy, we call this the consciousness Shiva, or the static state as Shiva, and energy is the dynamic state. We call it as Shakti. And they are not gods, but they are just phenomena which are given this name. So there is nothing religious about it. And when we talk about chromosomes, genes, RNA, DNA, enzymes, all of them are chemicals. So that means all of them are energy in different forms. So theoretically speaking, whatever is possible by doing genetic engineering or whatever it is, if we can, whatever we can do it with chemicals, by adding chemicals or deleting chemicals, it should be possible by manipulating the energy behind it. That is logical, isn't it? But only thing is we don't know the technology to do it. Our body is the hardware, our mind and intellect are the software. But without the energy, like your cell phone, you may have the cell phone, you can have the SIM card, but if there is no charge, it's not going to function. So our body also will not function if you have energy. So that is why yoga says Pranamaya Kosha connects all the bodies. And when there is less energy, there is less functioning, and then there is no optimal functioning of every organ or the whole organism. So yoga has a complete science of how to increase this energy, direct this energy to any part of the body that we want, and influence every cell in the body. You can call this energetic engineering, and Kaya Kalpa is one such practice. Now, 2000 years ago, we had a sage called Thiruvalluvar, one of the best ones in the world, who he has given a beautiful couplet defining the disease and its treatment. Noi nadi, noi mudal nadi, adu tanikkum vai nadi vaipachayal. Everyone in this hall will know, except maybe few people. So, just that is, find the disease, find the root cause, find the ways to alleviate it, and give the appropriate one. We have evolved many ways of diagnosis. First, we used to have only a clinical diagnosis. Then we started having biochemical diagnosis, and then the shadow diagnosis in the form of X-ray scans and this thing. And then we had the tissue diagnosis by biopsy. And now we have the molecular diagnosis. But in future, it may be the energy diagnostics. And then, as Dr. JP said, the spiritual medicine may be the future using this energy diagnosis. And all the known medical systems that treat a patient with the use of Panchabhutas only, either in the raw form, like naturopathy in the raw form, Ayurveda and Siddha from the extracts of the herbs and minerals, and then in allopathy, we use them also. All the things in the synthetic form, we use them. But yoga treats diseases with the prana shakti or the life force particles. And prana, what do I mean when I say prana? So prana is the vital force that is present in animal, plant, and other forms of life. And consciousness and prana are the positive and negative, that is the yang and yin of the same one inconceivable energy, an incredible force which is responsible for everything that takes place in the individual and the cosmic life. So prana has been described as a complex, multidimensional energy comprising of electrical, magnetic, photonic, thermal, and audio and radioactive energies. Maharishi has said that, yesterday you would have seen that the absolute space contains the potential for all these energies. So, and prana is that expression in various forms. And the yogic view of disease is the decrease in prana in the whole body or in parts of the body or separate organs. Or even if you have prana, if there is a block in the flow of prana throughout the body, that's also disease. Now, what the yogic view of health is increasing the pranic levels, removing the blocks in the nadis. Please ignore the third line, that's a mistake. And ensuring free flow of energy throughout the body. So, what do we say when flow of energy or the nadis? Nadis is a yogic concept. This is a picture of nadis. They are not nerves or blood vessels. They are pathways of energy similar to the meridians of the acupuncture in the traditional Chinese medicine. Nerves relate to the physical body, and nadis relate to the subtle body. As I told you, prana is in the subtle body, subtle body. So it's a network of nanotunnels carrying pranic body back and forth in every direction, supplying the energy to each cell of the body for life to happen. And the most important three nadis here we have is, according to yoga, these are the most important nadis: the Ida nadi, the Pingala nadi, and the Sushumna nadi. The Sushumna nadi is the central pole extending from the perineal body to the brain, or in yogic terms, from the Mooladhara chakra to the Sahasrara chakra, and running on either side, crisscrossing each other, are the Ida nadi and the Pingala nadi that you can see in different colors. These two nadis originate in the Mooladhara chakra, take opposite directions, cross each other, again come back to the midline, meets the central nadi, again go away, and like that in the crisscross journey, they meet at 4 places. And what happens when you have two streams of water crossing each other? You have a whirlpool, isn't it? So the same way, when these two nadis meet each other, there's a whirlpool of energy, and those are the chakras, and we call them the Swadhisthana chakra, Manipura chakra, Anahata, Vishuddhi, and they end in the Agnya chakra behind the forehead. Sushumna nadi is the first nadi to be formed in the human embryo. Like yesterday, Dr. Anand Kumar also said, and our sages, Siddhas, call it Uruttarita nadi. Uruttarita means the form, when you made a form, during conception, when you took a form, that is the first nadi or the passageway to have formed. So that is why when they said the sperm penetrates the ovum, there is a minuscule dent in the wall of the ovum, that is the Mooladhara chakra. And when it reaches the other end, there is a space in between, there is a central core, and that is the Sushumna nadi. And at this time, two things happen. Two things are transformed from the sperm into the ovum. One is consciousness and the energy. By consciousness, I mean that the genes and the chromosomes that are carrying the intellectual blueprint for the baby to form. And then that's the only thing we think of. But energy is also transformed from this sperm into the ovum, and the combined energy of the ovum and sperm take care of the baby up to a period of 10 weeks. And this is called Garbhasaram in Ayurveda, and it's called ancestral Shi, or the energy that we inherited from our parents according to traditional Chinese medicine. And then the chakras, these are the chakra pictures, we already talked about them. And now these chakras are called the whirlpools, or because of their circular motion, they are called chakra. Chakra actually in Sanskrit means a wheel. So this is how the chakras are formed. Now, is this all the yogi's fantasy or a myth or imagination? Or do we have any physical correlation with it? Definitely we have a physical correlation. See, the Mooladhara chakra, as Dr. Shanmugavelli said, is the perineal body and corresponds to there is a nerve plexus also for that, the coccygeal plexus. Swadhisthana, we have the ovary and testis and the hypogastric plexus. Manipura, or the adrenals, has the solar plexus. Anahata is the thymus and the cardiac plexus. Vishuddhi, or thyroid, is the cervical plexus. Agnya is the pituitary, and the hypothalamus is the corresponding part. And Sahasrara is the brain, or the cerebral cortex. So these things have very surprising similarities. And do we have this nadis also? Do we have similarities? Yes, definitely yes. The Pingala nadi, the functions of the Pingala nadi, if you see, it is exactly like that of sympathetic nervous system. And the Ida nadi is like mostly like the parasympathetic nervous system, and the Sushumna Nadi is called the central nervous system. Now, the four aspects of Kaya Kalpa is, and in this, I want to say one thing. These two nadis, Ida and Pingala, you can see that these nadis, these Ida Nadi and Pingala Nadi stop at the Agnya Chakra. They enter, Ida Nadi enters the Agnya from the left side, the Pingala Nadi enters the Agnya on the right side, and they stop at the Agnya Chakra. And correspondingly, we say it is the pituitary in the physical body. And it's only the Sushumna that pierces the center and reaches up to the Sahasrara Chakra. So this also you can correlate with the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system, whereas autonomic nervous system stops from a midbrain and only the central nervous system is the cerebral cortex higher up. And then, of course, the four aspects of Kaya Kalpa, all of us know, we've been deciding. And Ashwini Mudra and Moola Bandha have been explained very well by Dr. Shanmugaveli yesterday. The third aspect is called the Ojas breath, and the fourth aspect is the Kechari Mudra. Now, what is Ojas breath? Ojas breath is a psychic breath. I'll tell you what a psychic breath later on. This is used in Kaya Kalpa. The Sanskrit word for Ojas, Ujjayi, it's also called Ujjayi Pranayama. And Ujjayi means victorious. It's derived from the root G, which means conquer, and Ud means bondage. So Ujjayi Pranayama is supposed to, or the Ojas breath gives us freedom from the bondage of this mundane material aspects of our life and leads to the subtle states of mind. It is used together with Kechari Mudra, which we'll see later on, or the tongue lock as we call it, to get the maximum benefit. Ojas breath is between the Mooladhara Chakra and the Bindu Chakra. It's a slow, deep breath with a slight contraction of the glottis. And this contraction of the glottis causes a vagal stimulation. Both inhalation and exhalation should be long, deep, and controlled. This, along with Kechari, causes a spontaneous Udyana Bandha and a mild Jalandhara Bandha. 1 minute. Jalandhara Bandha, we call it, this is folding of the neck, but in Kaya Kalpa, we don't use it in that form. But the Ujjayi breathing itself causes a contraction of the muscles in the throat and glottis and stimulation of the vagus nerve and calms the mind and tranquilizing the mind. And Udyana Bandha is where you tuck in your stomach, you pull in the stomach, creating a vacuum inside the abdomen and in the chest. So the psychic breath. So normal breathing goes on automatically unconscious in and out of the lungs. And what is a psychic breathing? We know psyche means mind. So it's a conscious breathing that is integrated with the breath, or sending the prana through different nadis. So psyche, we can direct the prana to any part of the body at will. That is called the psychic breath. That is what we use in yogic practices, in Yoga Nidra and in Kaya Kalpa. So we use this breath to take it and send it to any part of the body which is diseased or where you are tired, the energy is less. You can direct the energy, or even in states of health, like in Kaya Kalpa, in Ojas, you take the energy from the base of Mooladhara, take it up, and then you send it to each cell of the body, and you can direct it to reach any level, to cell, or even in the genes also, you can send it. So this one, so here we talk about something called a Kundalini energy. Everybody, every yogi, any book you see, they'll talk about the Kundalini energy. Now, what is this Kundalini energy? It is the primordial source of energy, or it's the cosmic creative energy, and it's supposed to reside in the Mooladhara Chakra. So we can, I don't know, still we cannot correlate it with anything. We cannot find physical evidence, or we cannot find proof for it. But we can correlate it like the atomic energy. Maybe there is a structure. Mooladhara was, as he said, it's a vestigial gland. And kunda means it's a small pit. So maybe there's a small pit filled with some fluid which can hold the electron, like the battery that we have, there's a fluid which can hold the electrons and leave out slowly. And then it can be charged by the every day when you put it into the plug. Like that, this energy is at the base, charged every day by the prana shakti, which we get from the food that we eat, and from the water that we do, and from the pranayama that we do. This gets charged every day. If it becomes very low, then life becomes, you have problems, you have a disease, and when the Kundalini energy is exhausted, then the aging is started and death happens. So preserving this energy or the holding capacity is the Kundalini. And what do we say when we take, by doing Ojas breath, you take the energy to the skull? It is like atom bomb explosion. Yesterday, they put a nice picture of Oppenheimer, the atomic bomb, which is mushrooming like that. And on top, I was surprised to see a lotus. This is exactly what the atomic energy, they say, the yogis say. This dormant energy of the atom, when released, explodes upwards like a mushroom-like formation, and when then goes to the Sahasrara chakra, which is 1,000-petal lotus, it goes and wakes up the brain cells. We know we use only less than 5% or 10% of the brain cells, and the others are dormant. But because there is lack of energy, so when you use this Kayakalpa practice and Ojas breath, you give the brain energy which opens up a few hundred or few thousand cells each time, so that the capacity of your brain function, the neuronal connections increase, and then your brain capacity increases manifold. And this also another example you can say is, you can see the firecrackers. The firecracker has a powder which is inflammable, and it contains the energy, but you just ignite it a little bit. When you put a small fire to it, it just goes up straight, and then you can see the fireworks in the New Year day, Deepavali we see, and it just fills up the area with light. And this is exactly what happened. You have to light it up. Kundalini is there all the time, dormant, but lighting up is by the Ashwini Mudra and Mula Bandha. The heat produced in the perineum, it kindles or ignites that energy, and the energy goes up through the Sushumna Nadi, and when it comes to the Sahasrara, it just fills that place, and you see as the crackers give the light, sparkling lights, we call it enlightened. The brain, when it gets more light and energy, that's what we call enlightenment. So Agnya Chakra, as I told you, it is the meeting point of Ida Nadi and then the center of the autonomic nervous system. And the fourth aspect is the Kechari Mudra, where the tongue is touching the upper palate beyond the uvula to the top of the nasopharynx. So this is the picture of the Bindu Chakra. What happens when you touch beyond the uvula is, in the nasopharynx, there's a structure called Lalana Chakra. And your tongue, when it stimulates that, there is this chakra in the brain called Bindu Chakra, according to yoga, which we still don't know what it is exactly. But it is supposed to secrete a drop of Amrit. Because now, what is death? Death in Sanskrit is called Mrityu, and anything that prevents death is called Amrit, or nectar, or ambrosia. And this is from the Bindu Chakra, they call it. So we don't know the equivalence of it. We have only hypothesis about this. So in ordinary people, the Bindu drops from the store in the head. That is called the Soma Chakra, or the moon, area of moon, or Madhimandalam they call it. But it drops, and then it is burnt up by the digestive system, or the fire of the sun. And it is ejaculated as a semen. In Hatha Yogi, the Bindu model is preserved in the head. It's stimulated by the Kechari Mudra, and it stops the Bindu from dropping downwards into the physical body, keeps it in the head, and then it gives energy for the spiritual transformation of the person. So, do we correlate it with the pineal gland? we don't know. Maybe it is the bridge, because pineal is the, according to yoga, this is between the bridge between the physical or the material world and the spiritual or the metaphysical world. And what is the secretion of pineal is melatonin. We know that melatonin is it's a miracle hormone. This hormone, or the dark hormone as we call it, because of its photoreceptive nature. And this is got multifarious activities. This melatonin, it's you can see the picture. It's anti-inflammatory, antioxidative, immunomodulation, cardioprotection, neuroprotection, and metabolism regulator. And it is responsible for all the biorhythms and the seasonal rhythms in the body. So when all the rhythms are in order, when all the nerves, sympathetic, parasympathetic nerves are in balance, when all the chakras are working perfectly, all the endocrine glands are working perfectly in balance, definitely you have health. And this health, it definitely paves way for a long longevity. And that is the secret of the anti-aging that our siddhas found out. So we don't know if all this is correct. We have thrown the gauntlet. We have made some tall claims, you may think, but we have subjective evidences and experiences of millions of people, and it's up to the scientists to take it up, find ways and means to prove it, and then prove it or disprove it, and then take it forwards. May the divine grace assist all the spiritual and scientific aspirants who are traveling this path to reach this destination. வாழ்க நலமுடன், வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you, madam. It's such an in-depth presentation. You have taken us from the complete spectrum of the science and spirituality behind Kaya Kalpa and chakras. I just want you to spend a few more minutes on this Lalana chakra, because I believe there is some good amount of embryological evidence behind that. Please, madam.
Yeah, the Lalana chakra is supposed to be at the top of the nasopharynx. And as doctors, we know that a part of pituitary originates, the fibers of the pituitary, it starts in the nasopharynx, and then it goes inside the brain to where it is now. So when we stimulate, like just when you stimulate one part of the brain, your hand twitches. When you stimulate the place where it originated, its nerve supply is in the nasopharynx. So when you stimulate the nerves in the nasopharynx, you can influence the pituitary. And even the GnRH producing cells originate in the nose, and then they go inside along with the nasal placard. So maybe even the pineal, I don't know about it. I have to do a little more thing on that. So this also maybe Kechari Mudra influences in some way the pituitary and the pineal body. And we know that there is a definite relationship between GnRH and pineal. So as long as the pineal is very strong, GnRH is suppressed. Only when the pineal function comes down, the GnRH takes place, and then the puberty sets in and all the things. So by doing Kechari Mudra, you can keep the level of melatonin high, so that the GnRH secretion is lowered, and so that, as Dr. JP said, early menarche, it also predisposes to a lot of problems and this thing. So you can delay puberty, you can alter menstrual cycles, you can alter other cycles in the body. And of course, this is one hypothesis. It needs to be proven by others.
Thank you, madam.